Hello, everyone. It's nice to see your beautiful face, Sarah. We missed you yesterday.
I missed you guys yesterday, but you did not disappoint one single bit. The show was amazing. And so as they would say, the show must go on.
And it did go on.
It
definitely went on.
And all.
And if you want to know what we're talking about, you'll have to watch yesterday's recording on our Facebook page. It was quite a show.
Yes. Well, so glad that we're all here together. Martha, what's going on? Who do we have in the room?
Yes, so right here we'll have, I'll start off with myself. I am co-host of the Unscripted Real Estate Show. My name is Martha Aguilar. I assisted leaders of tomorrow, our children, for nearly a decade. And in October of 2020, I transitioned to serving the leaders of today. I'm owner of Morelli VA, a virtual assistant agency, and co-founder of I Am Community, an online community of women empowerment. I also virtually assist the JS Realty team, the beautiful team we have here today, through transaction management and all things marketing. And a fun fact about myself, this is not quite a fun fact, but it's a little bit of a, I'll throw it in here because I'm running out of fun facts, to be completely honest, guys. I don't know how to swim, but I am committed to doing the most water sport activities I can. And then finally swim. So I've done snorkeling, but I must say I use like all of the lifeguards, all of the safety equipment I have to have the most fun in the water. So I'm committed to that. That's a fun fact that I don't know how to swim, but I will try.
Love it. That is a fun fact.
Yes.
Who else is here today?
Well, we definitely have to shout out our show producer, Jenna Charpentier. Jenna started working at the age of 7 in Hollywood, California, appearing in several commercials, TV shows, and even a movie. These days, she prefers to work behind the scenes by supporting the JS Realty team through day-to-day operations, marketing, and brand awareness. Jenna, tell us a fun fact about yourself.
Oh my goodness, there's not that much to tell. I spoke Spanish before I spoke English. My first words were in Spanish.
And what was your first word?
My first word was ojo, which means eye.
Nice.
Awesome.
Love it. Next, we have expert realtor Beth Dunn. Beth is a Northern Virginia OG, having grown up in Loudoun County. So she's watched this area grow and change quite a bit. Beth is a powerhouse realtor, owns an investment property, and is the director of Samsung Property Management. So her expertise comes from years of professional and personal experience. Beth, tell us a fun fact about yourself.
Not really about myself, but today's my husband's 51st birthday. So
nice.
That's a very fun and exciting day today.
Happy birthday to him. Definitely a fun fact. Thank you for sharing. Next, we have expert realtor Chris Madison. Coach Chris is also a Northern Virginia OG and grew up in Falls Church City. As a former college athlete, Chris takes a coach role with his clients, so he is able to successfully guide them through their real estate transactions. He's also a girl dad to 2 beautiful teenage girls who also have a love for sports. Chris, tell us a lovely fun fact about yourself.
Ooh, fun fact today. You may have mentioned it, but my wife actually played college basketball. She went to Marymount University right here in Northern Virginia and played 4 years of women's basketball.
I love it.
It's in the family.
It definitely is in the family. And I also see that we're running out of fun facts, that we're giving our spouses fun facts out here in the show. But we definitely have to make a list of all of the fun facts and fun experiences we've had. So lovely. Thank you for sharing that, Chris. Next, we have expert realtor Linda Chandler. Linda got her start in Northern Virginia as well and has been an active member of the Falls Church City community for almost 20 years. Linda has a background in hospitality, which has proven useful in the real estate industry. She has become like a concierge to her clients. They can come to her for anything, and they do. Linda, I see you're in paradise. Tell us a fun fact about yourself, ma'am.
Fun fact. Probably not so fun, but at the age of 6, I was with my family and we were going to purchase a grand piano. And as a 6-year-old child, I was bored out of my mind. And so I kind of went out into the courtyard of the place that we were purchasing it from and found this beautiful German Shepherd out there. And the female and I were sitting outside and hanging out. And the son of the owner didn't realize that this young child was in the courtyard and released the male German Shepherd. And unfortunately, I was bit pretty bad by the German Shepherd. But the female actually rescued me. And ironically, I now am the owner of a 10-month-old German Shepherd. So to the German Shepherd, but just, you know, it's kind of ironic coming full circle and not being afraid of dogs.
Yes, that is beautiful. I am a fan of dogs. I'm sorry that happened, but I am happy to hear that you do have a lovely German Shepherd in your family. Thank you for that fun, not so fun fact, Linda. Next, we have expert realtor Jeff Taylor. Yet another Nova OG. Jeff is our triple threat. Expert realtor, licensed Class A contractor, and director of Samson Property Management. Jeff is passionate about finding his clients quality properties for great values, and you will not find a more honest, diligent, and ethical human. He is also a dedicated and loyal Washington sports fan. Jeff, tell us a fun fact about yourself.
These are going to get harder and harder. I am a big Washington sports fan, and I have a dog named Soto after our outfielder Juan Soto, who's my favorite current player.
I love it. Soto is super, super sweet. I had the privilege of meeting him along with my partner. So yes, Soto is definitely a fun fact, and let's talk more about him on the show. Next, we have expert Katie Hickey, co-founder of the Simmons team at Caliber Home Loans. Katie was born into a family of builders, developers, brokers, and loan officers right here in Northern Virginia. And it's no wonder she's become a driving force in the lending world. She has lifelong clients and is dedicated to helping people achieve the American dream of home ownership. Katie, what's a fun fact about yourself?
I'm gonna have to start digging up some more. I mean, I continue to be scared to death of birds. We've gone over the Kenny Chesney thing. I can't share any of my husband fun facts because you guys have heard all of those.
Wait, I know a fun fact about you.
Oh no, do I want you sharing my fun fact?
Yes, you do. Trust me. Fun fact about Katie is her and her husband wedding crashed together.
That is a fun fact.
You had to say that, didn't you?
Well, I mean, of the things I could have said, that was okay, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's still a little embarrassing, but we do that. We do wedding crash. It's fun.
And I'm going to add to this, Jeff and I have begged to do this with them.
Yeah, and you just blew our cover.
I know. Nobody here get married anytime soon and not invite us.
So we learned about this from our wedding video because we went back and watched our wedding video 2 years after we got married in like 2010, and we had wedding crashers that we didn't know about. We knew about 2 of them, but we didn't know about 5 of them. So every time we watch the video and we see these wedding crashers, we're like, well, that's pretty genius. So I think we've done 6. It's fun.
That's awesome.
6? That is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Wow.
they'll never kick you out.
She was going to say once or twice. 6 times is getting a little obsessive.
You're a pro at this point. You're a pro. That's awesome. That's a great fun fact.
Did anybody
Katie.
else on the show want to do it with them, or is just me and Jeff the crazy one? There we go.
I'm definitely in.
I mean, let's be
JP,
honest. I
are you
can't
doing
beat Vince Vaughn or Owen Wilson, you know.
Speaking
So I
of
used
wedding
to live in St.
crashers,
Thomas, and that was kind of, we went back to visit, and I worked on boats there, and that was our first wedding, was in St. Thomas, because it's a little more chill there, and it definitely takes some cocktail or liquid courage.
I would assume so. That's a great fun fact. Thank you, Katie. Next, we have saving the best for last. Drum roll, please. Miss Sarah Taylor, host of the Unscripted Real Estate Show, award-winning realtor, business owner, entrepreneur, real estate marketing consultant, career development coach, philanthropist, podcaster, author, wife, and fur baby mom, proud owner of the top producing JS Realty team, great matchmaker, loves bringing people and real estate together. Recently, Sarah has fostered a relationship between the National Association of Realtors with the American Foundation for the Blind. Matching these two incredible entities will create awareness, access, and opportunities within the real estate industry for blind and visually impaired individuals. Sarah, what is a fun fact about yourself that you'd like to share?
Well, I'm going to share a fun fact that my husband reminded me of, and it's a little embarrassing, but you guys will probably think it's pretty funny. The first time I went anywhere like publicly outside of coffee with Jeff was his birthday. He tricked me into feeling sorry for him that he didn't have any plans for his birthday. And so I decided I would take him to a movie. We lived in a townhouse community at the time. And you know how you have visitor parking and then you have your assigned parking? Well, I specifically did not park in my assigned parking so Jeff could park there when he came to pick me up. And then when we got back, somebody was in our spot. And so I said, don't worry, I got this. And I jumped out of the car, jumped on the front bumper of this car to shake it so the alarm would go off and the person would come outside and we could politely ask them to move.
Oh my goodness. I am not going to lie. I've heard this and I just remembered that fun fact. That is definitely a fun fact. Sarah, you have cojones, as we like to say it.
I don't know that I would actually do that this day and this hour. I really don't. I think I'd think twice, but I don't know. I guess it's the city girl in me. Just know how to move a car if you need to.
And that's the Sarah I know when we first met.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Thank you for that fun fact, Sarah.
Yes.
And that is the introduction of all of our experts here today. We are missing one person, and it's our lovely, lovely guest, JP, John DeGrosse. Hello, JP. How are you?
JP, we
Hey
are
guys,
so
sorry,
glad you're here.
I'm glad I could be here too. I'm so sorry I didn't come out last time. I had a client 911. So for those of you who don't know me, I work in the fintech space, which basically means that I'm the middleman between software, payments, banking, loans, like anything you could possibly imagine that deals with finance. I've worked specifically in our SMB division. I work with small business, but I also do work with large business as well. I'm kind of a unicorn in that sense, if you will.
We like unicorns.
Absolutely.
Yes, that is awesome. Well, I'm super excited to have you here, JP. JP was actually invited by Sarah. And JP, if I'm not mistaken, you're looking to buy a home. I would love to hear where you currently live and a fun fact about yourself.
So I currently live in Arlington, Virginia. Fun fact, I am also an OG resident, and I went to Washington Lee High School. I rode for the crew team for 5 years. Yeah, forever and always Washington Lee, not Washington Liberty. And then, God, what else? Yeah, loved my time in Arlington, so I'm happy to be back here for sure.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Sarah, go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt.
No. And I think that is a fun fact, JP. I love that you are from here. I think it's myself and Martha who are the only people on this call not really from here. I mean, Jenna moved here really young, but so you are in welcome company, and we're glad you're here. So I know that you're probably wondering how this whole thing plays out, JP. And I want to just get you all caught up to speed. I know that you have a couple of questions around real estate, and we want to make sure that we have filled the room with experts that can answer your question. I feel like we've gotten that part started. We're going to allow you to ask your question, and you're going to ask your question to a role player. And the role player is very similar to a search engine, or as we would most reference, Google, Safari, or whatever you want to call the search engine. as it happens, your answer may be true that you get from your role player. It may be false, or it may be even just fake news. So once you're done asking your question and the role player has answered, we will go around the room and see who has the advice on whether that was a correct answer, fake news, false altogether. So what I'd like to do is introduce you to your role player, who's going to be today Jeff. And Jeff is signed up to be Search Engine 101. And you can ask Jeff any question you want about real estate. So what is, and Jenna's going to put up the timer for us. There's a 3-minute conversation happening back and forth between you and the search engine. Just as you would put a question into Google, what would your question be?
And so just before we start the timer, I can ask anything about buying a home, right? I'm not talking about any other kind of questions, or?
You can ask any question you want.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes. All right, here we go. What is your question?
How do I get financing if I'm a first-time home buyer?
How do I get financing if I'm a first-time home buyer? I love that question. And you know what? Surprisingly, that's not in the top 5 questions Googled. But Jeff, what say you?
That's a great question. How to get financing as a first-time home buyer. Best option would be to go and visit your wealthiest of uncles, no matter how far they are. Tell them how much you love them, how you've always admired them, and that it would be a great legacy that they could leave you if they would just give you some funding so you could buy the home of your dreams, and that you will never forget them if they do so. That is the correct answer.
I love it. I love it. AP, do you have a second question, sir? There's 2 minutes left.
I do have a second question. When I'm in the process of buying a home, what should I look for that are red flags?
Ooh.
Google will halfway answer this one correct, just to throw a curve.
Yep.
You're going to want to take a look at several factors. You always buy a home with an eye towards resale. So, kind of see what direction the community is moving. Is it a community on the rise? Is it a community that was down that's coming up? Is it a community in decline? Do you see, you may see one particular house you like, but everything else, you've got some boarded up houses. You've got mice. You've got things that just aren't appealing as a buyer. So that would be the first thing. Is we always say, do a drive-by through the neighborhood, send you a listing, go look at it, see what's going on. And that's the first step. If you drive through and you're like, oh, this kind of looks like, everybody's keeping their house nice. And, I see, people working on their yards and nice cars, and, the schools are good locally. And I may want to pursue this further and actually get a showing. And then you call your trusted realtor and get a showing and go look at it and find out if it's valued correctly, and see if you want to make an offer on it and do all those fun things.
All
Absolutely.
right.
And I guess since we have 30 seconds left,
Yes.
if I Airbnb my house, does it affect my insurance?
Really
Yes.
good question.
Yes, it does. And it also could affect your mental well-being.
I'm sure it
property
most definitely
management,
would.
trust me.
I'm sure.
All right. Excellent job. Role player Jeff, thank you so much. And amazing questions, JP. All very, very good questions. And we are going to put it out there to the experts. So the first question was around, how does a first-time home buyer get funding to buy a house? And yes, you can ask your favorite uncle for $500,000, but if he doesn't have it, Katie, what else is he supposed to do?
You need to get pre-approved. So first of all, you need to call the Simmons team, and you need to go online and get an application done and talk about the pre-approval process with us, and we can walk you through that. We'll collect your documentation, run different numbers for you, find out what down payment you have, whether it's 100,000 from your uncle or 0% down, and we'll run numbers that you're most comfortable with. And that way, that will be good for 120 days. And then we just update the documentation throughout, but it's never too early to go through that pre-approval process.
JP, does that open up another question for you at all, or?
I'm always curious about this because I do work in finance, but like, so I know the origination fee is a classic barrier to entry for some first-time home buyers. Do you still see that a lot, or is that something that doesn't happen anymore?
So they have a processing and underwriting fee now, which is also considered an origination fee, but we are starting to see a lot of hidden costs or numbers that are origination fees or points that they're building into the loan. We don't have origination fees on our loans, but it's similar to a processing and underwriting fee, which every company has. Some will have one or the other, just not broken out, but we are definitely starting to see quotes come in with points with the rates on the rise.
Definitely makes sense, and I can appreciate that working in another part of finance. So definitely very nice.
Yeah, what is it? Inflation's at the highest it's been since 82 today. Is that what?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was just starting to read that before I hopped on here and got sidetracked. So now I want to go back and see what happened to real estate from like 82 to 84, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know I was at the age where I was not, very interested in real estate at 82 to 84. So I'm gonna have to do some research.
Can we call your mom?
Yeah, we can. That's a great idea, Sarah.
Call a friend, please. Yeah.
I am going to take this show on the road. I'm still going to be on. I'm just going to go dark, JP. It's nice meeting you. I'll still be on here, but if my screen goes black, it's just because I'm heading to a closing, but I will still be on.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Katie. That was great advice. Also, JP, I'll just add to what Katie said. If you are comparing lenders, the lenders they have a good faith estimate that they have to present to you, and apples to apples, you should be able to compare those type of fees. And they also are held to a standard that they have to come within a certain percentage of that. It cannot change, or they actually pay a penalty. So there are some consumer protections. It's not like the wild, wild west when it comes to those type of fees. And if you aren't understanding a fee, dig in and ask questions. That's the good part about partnering with a good lender, is you should be able to ask all of those questions.
Awesome.
Yes. And the second question was around what type of pitfalls to look out for when purchasing a home. Did I repeat that correctly? Yes.
I just said red flags, but yes.
Red flags.
Same difference for sure.
Yes. So Jeff, well, I'll ask the room, what did you guys think of the role player's answer? And is it fake news, partial news, good news, bad news? What was it?
I'll go first. I actually, for the most part, with regard to the community, I mean, I think he's pretty much spot on. That is a lot of things that people look for, school districts, what the rest of the community looks like, what that community looks like they're going to be doing in X amount of years. So I think that part of it, he was pretty spot on for it. I think if you're talking about specifically the house itself, especially in this market where it's really hard to get home inspections because it's, so competitive right now. I think a lot of the red flags that you're going to look on are the condition of the house. What does the roof look like? How old is that HVAC system, dishwasher? Are you seeing any leaks in the roof, any watermark stains, anything like that? What's the foundation look like? There's a lot of things within the house that you're going to have to look at as far as the condition to know that if you are paying top dollar right now and not able to get a home inspection, it's going to be on you to update and take care of those items.
Awesome.
And
Anybody else
to add,
like to add on?
Oh, sorry. Can I add something real fast?
Yes.
I was just laughing, Beth, because I actually have a home inspector as a client of mine, and it's amazing how much money flows through his accounts. But I mean, I can't believe his schedule. It's so horrendous, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Tough right now.
Yeah, especially right now.
Imagine him trying to get a loan and document his income with all those invoices.
Oh,
Well, that's where a company like mine comes in because we automate all of that. So he
Yes.
actually doesn't do anything, which is great.
It's good for him, right? It's good for us too. I've seen your name on quite a few, not your name specifically, but the company name on quite a few invoices in the past.
Absolutely, yeah. So Clover definitely, and then Fiserv is just this huge tech conglomerate. So we do everything. Basically, anytime you swipe your credit card, most likely 60% of those merchants are one of ours.
that's awesome. I love it. I love it. Linda, I see you're off mute. I'm guessing you have something to share with JP as well.
Just a couple additional things that I thought about. Red flags would be smell as you walk into the house. You know, you can smell mold. So I think that is something that you definitely want to look out for. Mold is also an indicator of moisture. So you definitely want to check in the, upper levels and lower levels of the home to see if you see signs of moisture, if you see water stains or anything else around that, sorry. Structural cracks are something that you would also want to look towards. And potentially, this isn't always the case, but new carpet, new flooring in a basement, sometimes that's a little bit of a red flag that there could have been water issues that in the past. So that's definitely something that you kind of want to hone in on and ask about. And hopefully,
Like ServPro came through and fixed everything. Kind of like ServPro just came through and fixed everything, and maybe like a month later it's going to be right back in the same situation, that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I would just love to add to that while you're on it. One of the things I look at is yard drainage. And so how is the water flowing around the house? And are there edges or little trails up next to the house? Again, that could be, fresh mulch, right? Where we could cover some of that but you can usually see how water is flowing around a house, and that could be an indicator. And I'd say partner yourself with a great realtor, JP. The reason is you're usually in an emotional, excited state, and we are in kind of a calm, analytical state, and we also look at homes all the time. So my ability to register what's happening in a room and look at all of the important things are going to be extra heightened, while meanwhile you're probably thinking about how you might use that room, where you put a TV, where you would put a table, etc. And so, multiple sets of eyes with the right partnering is super valuable.
And actually to ask this, so I'm one of those people where I like to live in, a high-rise condo, if you will. And I'm somewhere between that and like maybe a townhouse. And so, when I think about home buying, I always hear condos are one of the hardest to get approved for. And there's a lot of hoops to jump through. I know we didn't really touch on that, but I wasn't sure if there's any difference in the process of looking at a condo versus like a house.
So the difference between looking at a townhouse and a condo, that is a great question. And Chris, I see that you're off mute. Why don't you help JP out here?
Yeah, well, first of all, to your question, obviously with condos and townhomes, oftentimes you're going to be have the added cost of HOAs. So you're going to have different HOA fees, condo fees. Sometimes you'll have both. But having the opportunity to not only know what those fees are, what comes with those fees, what you're actually paying for, during that process, you'll also have the opportunity to read through the condo docs and the HOA docs so that you can know more about what the HOA has in reserves as far as available funds for any capital improvements and those types of things. So that's definitely something that you would want to be on top of, and that's where your realtor could certainly take the leadership role in that. One other thing I was going to add with red flags, kind of everyone else did a great job addressing the internal pieces of it, but there's some external things too. And I'm actually going through this now with a buyer as far as what's going on in the community. We've got a buyer that is looking in Northern Virginia, and they were considering maybe going up into Maryland. But if you're familiar with the American Legion Bridge, there's going to be a huge construction project going on over several years, which will have a huge impact on my buyer's commute. And if that's, so looking into those types of things as well, if you're not aware of those things and you find this great home, and now all of a sudden your 20-minute commute turns into an hour commute, you're going to be pretty frustrated with that investment. So just another thing to think about when you're thinking about potential red flags or things to think about.
Great answers, Chris. Thank you. Katie, did you want to add?
I do. I was like, maybe my thing's showing as iPad or iPhone on here, not Katie, but just to add on to that, for a condo versus a townhouse, you are looking at 0.75 points added on to the rate. So it's about 0.75% of your loan amount higher. So the rate's going to be a bit higher. Also, depending on the condo fee, as everybody has mentioned, you could probably qualify for a higher priced townhouse without having those fees. That being said, if you prefer a high-rise condo, it's not that big of a difference to actual rate. It can be anywhere between 0.125 to 0.25%, depending on the day and the spread. You'll also want to watch out for Fannie Freddie approvals, because there are some condos in the area that they call them non-warrantable because they're not approved by Fannie or Freddie for one reason or the other. It could be because of investor ratios in the condo. It could be because of delinquencies. It could be that people haven't paid their dues in so long, or the reserves accounts, or just a handful of different issues. And those are a couple examples. But if they are non-warrantable condos, the rate is much higher. And we're talking 2.5% higher than a Fannie or Freddie approved condo.
That's a huge basis point increase too. So 75 is significant for sure. And Chris, looks like you were saying something, but you were on mute.
Say that again. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I was saying you were on mute there. I wasn't sure if you were trying to add.
Oh, no.
Okay. Yeah.
That is really, really good feedback, Katie. And I think sometimes too, why some folks may say it's harder as far as like buying a condo is, as listing agents, good listing agents, we are calling and verifying whether a project is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac approved, because it opens up our pool of buyers. So depending on what you're doing, your realtor can also check in advance to make sure there are no lending issues prior to you seeing the property.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Do you have any more questions?
I was going to jump in on his one question about the homeowner's insurance, if you don't mind, on a Airbnb.
Oh, I love that. Yes, please go for it.
So, yeah, I'm not fully, I'm not, an insurance adjuster, or I don't, work in that industry. But as a personal investor, I do have a investment condo that I obviously have insurance on. And then we are actually in the process of buying a beach condo that is going to go in the vacation rental program, which is similar to Airbnb, not completely the same, but I'll say it's outside of, depending on where you're looking at, outside of what my investment property is up here versus down there. The only difference in my insurance is the flood, because the one is down on the beach. Outside of that, everything else is pretty much the same for the standard policy. I will say it'll probably be a little bit higher for an Airbnb, because you're going to want more coverage for your furniture, the different stuff that you're furnishing the property with. I don't think it'll be anything significant from just my personal comparison between the two. Maybe a little bit higher liability because you have a higher turnover. I don't know, but I will say they're pretty similar if I remove the flood from there.
And I guess to add to this whole, short-term rental question, since you guys have all been in real estate for a significant amount of time in some form or fashion, what do you think the big tech companies like Airbnb and Vacasa are doing well versus what they're not doing well against traditional? I'm just kind of curious to see how that market's been moving.
So the question is, what do you think that Airbnbs and companies like that are doing well in reference to what's the comparison?
The comparison being, having an investment property and being able to get value out of that investment property.
So whether or not you're renting it long-term versus short-term?
Correct. Yeah.
Gotcha. I just want to make sure I understand. Anyone want to speak to that?
I think you get a premium for sure if you're doing Airbnb. I mean, that's the typical, a shorter term rental is that person's gonna pay a premium price. I think we're pretty lucky in this area that we have a lot of people that are here, subcontractors or whatnot, that are looking for monthly rentals while they're here for work, maybe going back to home on the weekends or however they're working it. You do have a little bit more wear and tear on your property because you have a higher turnover with more people moving in and out. So there is that. You do have a smaller pool that you're probably going to be servicing because not everybody wants a short term. I think they do better in beach towns and stuff like that. But I think they do well here. Jeff and I have one definitely that used to be a Airbnb, and the owner just got tired of dealing with it. She was like, it was a lot. I had weekly turnover, I was managing the cleaning company. That's the other thing. If you're doing it yourself, you have to manage a cleaning company coming in and out, maintenance, all of that. So she just got tired of dealing with it, and she took a hit. She told us, she's like, I'm taking a hit by doing it more long term, but she's like, the frustrations are a lot less and the stress is a lot less now. She's also older, so I think if you're a little bit younger and you've got the energy to deal with it and you're close, or you have somebody that can at least take care of it for you, you'd probably do well.
I love that.
Yeah,
And I always
good.
Well, I was just going to add that I always think it's good to be able to do both. You want to, if you're investing into an Airbnb type product, you also want to know what the long-term hold would be and what you could make on it if you were to rent it for a year or 2 years. And that's just simply for the simple fact that the rules could change. So a city can change the rules, which would change your possible rental ability, as well as a condo building itself or a town. So just making sure that you're padded on both sides would be my advice too.
Absolutely. I was going to add too, I actually stayed at this couple's place in East Nashville when I went down there for a conference. I used to work in the music business. And they had actually built 2 houses that were exactly the same. And they were doing one as a private room where they lived, and then another one where they did short-term rental on Airbnb, but they kept all the cleaning fees, which is really crazy. So they were making a mint. I'm just thinking from an investment property perspective, that's pretty cool. But I just thought it was interesting.
It's definitely got its pros and cons for both. For sure. So that would be something you have to weigh in and see, wherever you're looking at, how much of a need and everything that would be for you.
It's also, I'll share a little hot tip, and it's a page that I follow on Facebook. There is a short-term rental university page, and the feed is fascinating. First off, I'm just fascinated in real estate in general. We've done a ton of property management over the years, and I never cease to be surprised by what comes up. So if you're looking for people who are doing it real time and you want to know what it's like to do it day in and day out, that feed will educate you on all of the craziness that occurs in real estate, especially in the short-term rental world.
Absolutely.
It is quite a fascinating page. I do.
Oh, you've been watching it?
Yeah, ever since you told me about a year ago, I've been watching it too. I learn a lot. There's a lot of things that I'm like, whoa, yeah.
I read on there one day, it was somebody had left both of their guns and some other stuff in like one of the drawers. And it was like, well, what do you do? How do you deal with this? So, you know, and all the different versions and scenarios of how people had dealt with it or would deal with it. It was interesting.
Then I guess that brings me to my COVID question. Because you've got what was it? I think it was the CDC issued like a no vacancy order or something like that, right? Where like you couldn't evict a client if they were delinquent on their rent. How do you guys deal with delinquent clients when that does happen? Obviously, that's not something that's always fun, but it's something you have to take into consideration being an owner if you're doing investment properties.
Yes, and we have two experts that could answer that question for you, and that is Beth and Jeff. How would you guys answer that question for him?
Ask the question again. Sorry about that.
The question is, how do you deal with someone who's delinquent, especially during times with the COVID restrictions of being able to force someone to pay or also evict them?
We had decided during, you know, the height of the COVID situation that we were going to be as compassionate as we could be and try to be explain things as well as as we possibly could to the owners, the landlords. They ultimately, even though we manage their properties, it's ultimately their decision. We expected, I'll be honest with you, for it to be quite bad. We expected, many of our properties to have a problem and want to make arrangements for rent that they could not pay. Luckily, we had one out of our portfolio that made an adjustment for 1 month and then went right back on track. So it really wasn't something that we had to deal with, but we had a plan in place and we were going to try to be as compassionate as we could. And we were kind of forced to because there were some government rules that had been brought about where there wasn't much we could do. Under normal times, you send notices, you follow the timelines in the lease, and then you follow the process from there all the way to the point, hopefully it doesn't happen, but to the point where you do have to evict. Each jurisdiction is quite different. But it's a good question for COVID. We did expect just a landslide of problems. It never materialized, which was really good for us. It freed us up to continue to do our job, but we thought we would have a second job dealing with all of the different scenarios. I can pay a quarter of my rent. I can pay none of the rent. Can I defer for 3 months? All of those things that we expected. It just did not happen, luckily.
I would love to add too, during that time, there were, depending on what county you lived in Virginia specifically, there were options that the owners could also get some county support and apply if they did have a tenant that was in trouble. That was an option. And so just really understanding what county you're located in and what's going on within that jurisdiction. And to Jeff and Beth's credit, as an organization, we have a pretty high standard for the tenants that we put in place. And that is very purposeful and very thoughtful in that it is a risk mitigation for our landlords and for the property management division of looking for a class A type tenant based on various things that we see through an application process. So this is
awesome. This has been super informative. JP, I must say you asked questions that have been on my mind. And the answers that all of our experts provided, I'm like, okay, definitely now sparking new questions. So after this, I'm definitely going to be texting the group chat with a bunch of new questions that I have too, because it's been very, very helpful. And I'm curious, JP, in 30 seconds, how has this experience been for you and having your questions answered? What could you say?
It's been great. I didn't really know what to expect, to be honest. When Sarah asked me to come on here, I was just like, oh, bunch of real estate experts. That's fantastic. Johnny on the spot here, but it's really nice to actually sort of look at this objectively just from the outside in. Because obviously, even like I work in a business where people don't understand what I do, and I have to be their expert to come in and show them like exactly how everything works on the back end. So I really appreciate that.
That's amazing. I'm glad it's resonating. And JP, if someone were to ask you, what is this, the Unscripted Real Estate Show? Should I join? Should I not? What do you think about it? What would you tell them, JP?
I'd say if you want to know the nitty gritty of everything you need to know about real estate, you should definitely jump on the show.
I love
it.
that.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that feedback, JP. Thank you for being here. Sarah, any thoughts? What are you present to?
JP, thank you for joining us. I always love seeing you. I'm going to see you soon in real life at the next DC Metro Connector event. So I'm excited to see you in person. And again, your questions were amazing, on point, and so relevant to what's happening today. So thank you for joining our show. And if you need any additional advice, don't hesitate to let us know. Jenna is going to drop a link in the chat that you can grab. We'll also email it to you as a follow-up, but our bios are all in that link. And so if you ever want to speak with Miss Katie, the Simmons team, they're amazing. Her contact information is there. If you're looking to speak with Beth and Jeff about property management, they're going to be available to you. And Linda and Chris are always going to be there as your real estate experts. And of course, I'm not going anywhere, and you know how to get in touch with me. So anyone else watching the show can follow us on Facebook. You can also go to the unscriptedshow.com and register if you'd like to join our show. And thank you all for joining us today. It was a great time together. Always love being on the call with you guys, and look forward to seeing you next week on Wednesday for our next show.